Hey guys, Frozen X is here. Today I'm going to be talking about the issues I have with the Dark Zone and why I honestly think it's kind of broken in the game's current state. Now, this is going to be a different video to my, it's going to be a just like general issues with the Division, with the like graphical issues, storyline, and the end game parts. But for now, I'm just going to talk about the Dark Zone issues, and before you ask, I'm not going to be making a pros video like the good parts of the Division, because all I'm going to really say is Ubisoft made a good enough game that I'm going to keep playing it, and I've taken the time to look at the issues and figure out what needs fixed and what I think is broken in the game. I mean, I don't really need to say that the game is good or anything, because obviously I'm playing it. I wouldn't be playing it if I really thought the game was all that terrible, so take that into account. I'm not completely trashing the game, although it may sound like that, because I do have my fair share of issues with the game. But let's get started with the biggest issue I think the Dark Zone has, and that's player grouping. Every MMO I've ever played has a different set of tier, like max level tier gear. Like even down to RuneScape, you have like Armadillo, Bandos, all those different types of gear that are different sets once you get to max level. In this game, once you reach level 30, you can have absolutely no high end gear, just superior gear, maybe even still using a few blues. Hell, I mean, I'm even still using a blue holster, and I have one high end piece. And then you can go into the Dark Zone, and the players who might be going rogue in the Dark Zone are already level 60, and the Dark Zone have full high end gear sets, have level 31 weapons that will tear through you in a second, and it's really just not fair. I mean, I'm going to clearly put up an example I have of that on the screen. I've had the only two experiences I've ever had with people going rogue were exactly that. People who were much higher level than me, had much better gear than me, and I stood literally no chance. I was just like stepping on a bug to them. Uh in every game though, that like I was saying, in every other MMO that I've played, they have tier systems like Destiny. When you go into PvP, it matches you with players based on your light level. In World of Warcraft, I don't know how they calculate it, but they calculate your armor and your tier set. You're not fighting someone who's tier 10 while you're tier 1, unlike you are in the Division. That's exactly what can happen in the Division. Even like I said, RuneScape, they have a tiering system where you don't exactly matchmake or anything, but you don't fight someone who has 10 times the better gear as you. It's insane, but you can't really tell who's better than you in this game until after you've engaged, and you never know. Like that rogue that you've been running halfway across the map to kill might just end up turn around, shoot you twice with a like Vector 45, which is what happened to me. And yep, that's the end of it. You just wasted your entire like 5-10 minutes chasing that guy. And that brings me to my next issue, which is just the new player gear gap, which is, I think, kind of tied to the whole requirement for boxes. Once you get into the Dark Zone, you don't have as good of gear as most players who have already reached like level 30 in the Dark Zone. That's why I think it's ridiculous that they put a Dark Zone skill level on the boxes. And you may be thinking like, oh, well, they did that so, you keep going back to those areas once you're a higher level in the Dark Zone. My issue with that is you don't get, you can get high-end items from those boxes, but it's a very rare chance. And after a certain point, you only start using high-end weapons and armor. So why don't they just let you open the boxes at whatever level? Because first of all, that's more logical. What the hell, like, what magical force is stopping the box from opening between me being level 8, 15, and 30? But the gear, that the purple and blue gear and even sometimes green gear that I found in those boxes would be great for a new player coming into the Dark Zone, helping them make up for that giant curve that I just mentioned in the player grouping. But what happens is you have to wait till you're level 30 in the Dark Zone to get the boxes that give the best gear. And if you've noticed, once you're level 30, you're not going to really use the gear that you get out of those boxes. If you get really lucky and get an amazing high-end weapon, great for you, but that's a very rare chance of happening. And I think if it's going to be that low of a chance of giving you a high-end item, I think they need to do away with the level requirements to open a fucking box. I mean, the Dark Zone key boxes, that at least makes sense. You need the key, but I don't know. I don't like the whole fact that there's a magical force stopping me from opening a box that would actually help me out dramatically in making up for the player gap in the Dark Zone. Now, with that all being said, there are, I mean, in my opinion, too many currencies going on in the Dark Zone, all of which you have to extract. You have your Dark Zone credits, Phoenix credits, Dark Zone keys, and XP, all of which you don't get until you've extracted it onto a helicopter. I understand that you need to make your player drop the items in the Dark Zone if he gets killed. Fine. But I think the XP should just be left at static. You lose, say, 5% of the level when you die. That would make sense. But, if you die while you're in the Dark Zone, you lose, like, a significant portion of your XP. I don't I don't really know if it's only when you're rogue, but to me it seems like after I die, I still lose this. Even not rogue, I still lose a significant amount of XP, and I don't really see that being making sense because it's hard enough to get to level 60 in the Dark Zone. You have to do a lot of grinding and whatnot, and dying and losing your XP, I think that's just stupid. I guess that's my opinion. I'm sure some people are gonna argue that yeah, it's good to keep the player invested, but I feel like they should have had more high end or end game content in the first place, where you wouldn't need to make the game such a grind at the end just to keep the player playing. Like I really am still blown away by the fact that this is an MMO that doesn't have any fucking raids. But I'll go into that in the just my general issues with the game. With that being said, the Dark Zone keys, I understand those being dropped, and the Dark Zone credits to an extent. I think you should lose some of them, but like maybe half of the ones you picked up in that life. I don't know. It just seems ridiculous that you can go looting for 30 minutes and then because one guy who's well outside of your level and just wants to be a dickhead will just step on you. You have no defense to it. You lost 30 minutes of XP, keys, and Dark Zone credits, and I I'm not going to say this for sure or not, but I'm pretty sure you drop your Phoenix credits before you extract them. I could be wrong on that. I can't really tell. It's hard to measure. Well, not really hard to measure. I could easily just look and then check after, but I'm a bit of an idiot, and yeah, I don't really know that for sure. So let's get on to the next thing, and that's with the chasing matches, and more or less just the whole rogue issue in the first place. Going rogue is very rarely done in the Dark Zone. It's usually by players who are already max level, know they can win a fight, and have nothing better to do in the Dark Zone other than run around and kill people for the shits and giggles. I mean, half the time that actually every time I've been killed in the Dark Zone was by a player so high level that the gear he got off me was completely useless to him. And when someone does go rogue, it just turns into this chasing match. They just keep running in a direction or just keep running around the map, and players keep chasing after them, and you'll spend probably 10, 15 minutes trying to catch up. Well, that's probably an exaggeration. Probably around 5 minutes trying to catch up to a rogue, or he might die before you even get to him, or he'll just have gone into manhunt mode because he's so good, and just everyone that's running at him is kind of just, dying left and right. And I actually have a video of that happening. I'm pretty sure I've showed it by now, because that's the one guy that I was really complaining about in the player grouping. And I don't want to sound like a sore loser or anything, but in most MMOs, at level 30, there's a difference between someone who reached level 30 an hour ago and someone who's been level 30 for like a week. And I think most people who've played a lot of MMOs will understand what I mean. It's just a huge player gap, and I don't think they should have grouped them all together. I mean, they have 5 sections in the Dark Zone, and they're all for the same players. Why couldn't they have made like tier 0 through 4 gear? That's 5 tiers that you could have had. And I don't know. I just feel like that was a big oversight, and they didn't really think about that, because the high-end gear is so much better than the superior gear. When you first get to the Dark Zone and have no high-end gear, what are you supposed to do if a player goes rogue with all high-end gear? Nothing. You just have to run away and take your shit. And I don't think that's a fun situation. And in DayZ, where I think they got PvP spot on, it doesn't matter if you've been playing playing on the server for a week and haven't died, or if you just got on there. You have the same advantages. Guns do the same amount of damage. But I know you can't do that in an MMO. I'm comparing that to a survival game. But in an MMO, they should put players who are around the same skill level or just armor level, or they need to figure out way to measure players at level 30 and put them in 5 different groups of the Dark Zone and do it that way. And make it so they can go in any level layer of the Dark Zone, but so they understand that if you're tier 1 and go into a tier 4 Dark Zone area, you're going to get your shit packed in. And if players want to do that to risk getting better gear and play that way, that's up to them. But the way it's currently been left, I just don't think it's an enjoyable time to go rogue or be hunted by rogues. Now, that leads me to my next point. The people who do go rogue usually are doing it at a camping and extraction zone. I and I don't have a problem with this at all. So don't think I'm like bitching about every aspect of the game. I think the problem with the extraction zone is that when you call in a helicopter for an extraction, it just starts blinking on the map, and so every player on the map can see that, oh, look, there's players here with gear. That's pretty much the same thing as going rogue. It's really just any player that wants to be an asshole and kill you knows exactly where you are. And I don't think they should take the extraction zones off the map or anything, but I think players should have to watch for a flare going up in the air or watch for what direction a helicopter is going. I don't think the extraction zones should just start blinking on the map so everyone knows where you are. If players are vigilant and want to go hunt down someone in an extraction zone, I think they should have to work for that by, noticing a flare in the corner of their eyes or hearing a helicopter or seeing it fly down the streets. That would make for a much more realistic experience. I mean, I know realism isn't a big issue in an MMO, but I feel like it would add such a great aspect to the game that they missed out on by just alerting everyone in the area that, like, hey, there's guys here with gear. I don't know. It's the same thing as going rogue, if you ask me. And so, on to the last issue I have, and this really isn't a big issue. I feel like it could be solved pretty easily. It's AI spawns. I'll put the video up of it on right now. Pretty much what happened was me and my friend were walking down a street, and a bunch of Rikers, sorry, I almost said Vikers. A bunch of Rikers spawned right in front of us, and okay, no problem. But almost 5 to 10 seconds after the Riker spawned in front of us, a LMB stronghold spawned right behind us, and so we were like cornered between Rikers and the LMB, and it was kind of, I don't want to say like it was bullshit, because we survived, we managed to kill everyone, but it kind of really, pissed us off. We're just fighting some guys, and then all of a sudden we're taking massive damage from a named enemy that spawned behind us without us even noticing, while we were fighting the guys that spawned right in front of us in the first place. I mean, sure, it's okay if one group spawns, but they really need to limit it down so if a player's in combat, more enemies don't keep spawning on them. That seems like a giant oversight. You can't have enemies keep spawning on someone who's already in combat, and I really don't know how that got through the quality assurance testing. That's like step one, guys. Like, the enemies should not spawn in combat. But anyway, that's pretty much it for my video. If there's anything you disagree with, or if there's anything I missed, please leave a comment. And seriously, my channel has been blowing up in regards to, the videos I posted before. I'm getting almost 500 views per 48 hours. Thank you so much, guys. This is fucking amazing. Like, I know it doesn't seem like a lot to you guys, because major YouTubers get like 500 views an hour, but holy shit, I started this channel and was getting maybe like 20 to 30 views per 48 hours, and in the last 48 hours, it's spiked from almost 30 to 40 every 2 days to over 400, almost 500 now. Thank you so much, guys, and have a great day. Peace out.